Hey YouTube, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to go ahead and talk about the narcissistic sister. So a lot of us that grow up in these types of families, we understand that we are a part of a dysfunctional system. And typically the way that the narcissistic household is ran is going to be a lot different from families that are normal or healthy, right? So even though the narcissistic family is pretty much ran in similar ways amongst narcissists, the way that victims of abuse are raised is very unhealthy. And typically, we believe that the way we were brought up is normal. And so that keeps us from speaking about the different types of abuse that we endured growing up because we believe that everyone in society is similar to us or everyone's had a similar experience. Now, when it comes to the narcissistic sister, I believe that I am definitely one who can definitely speak on this type of individuals. So for those of you who know my personal story, I was adopted into a family. Now, in this family, I had two adopted sisters, and they were quite older than me. So they were kind of like aunts, or sometimes they would serve that mother role, even though they were my sisters. And I also had two nieces that were my age that are narcissistic, and they were also like sisters to me. And then I have I believe I might actually have two biological narcissistic sisters, but there's definitely one that I know of. So when it comes to dealing with this type of personality, and this type of relationship dynamic, I'm definitely one who has had a lot of experience in this. Now, the narcissistic sister is going to be very unique in the way of how they attack you or the type of abuse that they inflict on you. So all of my narcissistic sisters are covert narcissists. So, you could say my narcissistic sisters, my adopted ones, my biological one, and then you could also say my nieces. So they're all covert. And typically when it came to abuse by these type of women, it was definitely hidden. And for those of us that are men, fighting with women, this is something that society teaches us not to do. So a lot of us typically just deal with this type of abuse. And what this does to a man growing up or coming of age is it conditions him to accept this abuse in his dating life, or when it comes to just dealing with women in general. And so typically the cycle of abuse will be something that will follow this guy who's a victim of narcissistic abuse for a lifetime. Now, when it came to my covert narcissistic sisters, I suffered a tremendous amount of abuse with them. So the covert narcissist is typically going to make you feel sorry for them, right? So this is how they're able to lure in their victims, and this is how they're able to manipulate them into getting their needs met. Now, the covert narcissist is always going to play the victim role, right? So when it comes to narcissistic women, they're going to be the damsel in distress. And because this serves as a part of their false image, you're pretty much not going to even realize that you're being abused when it comes to these particular type of women. So I noticed a lot with my narcissistic sisters, or my nieces who were pretty much the same age as me. They typically would triangulate me into situations to get me in trouble or to set me up. So, for example, I had one narcissistic niece who was like a sister to me, and pretty much used her baby as bait to put me in another toxic situation by my, adopted narcissistic sister, who happened to be her mom. And pretty much they were trying to bait me into a situation to cause an argument. And then, if all would have gone bad, the cops would have been called, and, I possibly would have been arrested because I would have been the only male in the situation, and they would have baited me to react, and reacting would have definitely gave them narcissistic supply. Also, you know, society is pretty much always going to believe the woman over the man. And imagine a group of women saying one thing and the guy saying another. So when it comes to dealing with the covert narcissistic sister, their abuse is going to be very, very covert, and it's going to be they're very great manipulators. So if they're not triangulating you into a situation, they're going to do other things. So I had, I guess what you can say, another covert narcissistic sister who was pretty much my niece, but she was a year older than me. And she made sure that she sabotaged me in high school. So if it was having me join a particular class with her and hiding my books, or, going in my room and stealing something or hiding something, shaming me for things that my parents should have taken care of, which didn't. She was definitely, this was typically her abuse when it came to me. And she had to be number one at everything. And I remember there was, growing up, my generation, Pokemon was a very big type of thing. And so I remember her asking me to play my Pokemon game. And this was, by the way, this was something that I had bought and paid for myself when I was in middle school. So, for those of you who are familiar with my story, you know that the narcissistic parent doesn't believe in buying you anything, even though all the other children in the family did receive stuff. It's at me because I served the scapegoat role. But anyway, so she borrowed this game for me, and I remember she used my master ball on capturing a Ditto, right? And so for those of you who are familiar with the game, you know that the master ball was supposed to be saved to catch Mewtwo, right? So that's a little bit of my childhood history. But the covert narcissistic sister is always going to do things to be better than you, is always going to try to outsmart you. And this is something that the covert narcissistic sister is not only going to do herself, but the family is going to make sure that they join forces to keep the scapegoat in their designed role. Now, when it came to video games, when my covert narcissistic sister would play video games with me, if I ever got close to winning, she would turn off the game and she would kick me out of her room. And so if I didn't allow myself to lose at whatever game we were playing, then I couldn't participate in anything. Now, the covert narcissistic sister is also going to try to set you up to fail, or just various covert things to sabotage you. So I had another narcissistic sister who would drive me to school in the morning, and she would make sure that I was late every day. So I literally, and of course, I didn't know it was abuse at the time because, I was in middle school. And, but yeah, every day I was late. I was late to school. And so the covert narcissist is going to do this because they're trying to sabotage your grade, right? So another covert narcissistic sister who I actually went to school with, she would purposely make me late all the time so that I could do poorly in a class. Like, for example, I remember getting a B in PE because of her, because I was always late. And so the covert narcissist is always going to try to do things to sabotage you. They don't wish you well. I believe I explained this in one of my former videos, but I had another covert narcissistic sister who actually sabotaged me when it came to me going to college. So I worked very hard to get into college, and the family did not help me whatsoever. And I went anyway. And my third year of school, my adopted sister decided to withhold information, and I found out that I was actually being kicked out. Well, not kicked out of school, but I couldn't go to school unless I paid the tuition up front completely by myself. And so I had to stay out of school that semester. And so the covert narcissists, they're going to be very envious, but their envy is also going to be highly secret. So not a lot of people are going to know. A lot of people from the outside aren't going to know. So I remember asking my church for money for books one semester, and the members in the church couldn't understand why, because my adopted family donated thousands of dollars to the church. So they didn't understand why I was asking them for money when my family was definitely one who donated a lot of money. And so this is going to be very, very, this is going to be typical of covert narcissistic behavior. Now, when it comes to abuse from my covert narcissistic biological sister, she did this in a number of ways. So she would try to triangulate me via social media. She would create these lies, or try to gather as much intel as she could about me so that she could gossip about me to someone else, or she could use that to manipulate me. So I remember meeting my covert narcissistic sister, and this was, I was learning about narcissistic abuse, and I was letting her know on the information that I was learning about narcissism. And she always wanted to know about my insecurities. So she wanted to know about the abuse. She wanted to know just my weak spots. And then she could use that to manipulate me, or she could use that to guide me in a wrong direction. And, she's typically was one who gossiped all the time. She was always a victim. Everyone was always jealous of her if you leave it to her. And these type of people don't want you to do well. So your siblings is typically, I would say it's pretty much normal for siblings to be in competition with each other to an extent. But with the narcissist doesn't want you to do well at all. So in order for any of my narcissistic sisters to be satisfied with me, I would literally have to be a bum on the streets or in jail, right? So they don't want you to do well. And when they see that you're doing well, they're going to make sure that they put you in situations to traumatize you or to invoke some type of negative emotion. And I remember I had listed out my career goals with my biological narcissistic sister. And I remember her trying to get me to doubt myself. So this is always going to be very typical of the covert narcissist. So if they can come to you as in a level of what seems like concern, but really what they're trying to do is devalue you. And they want you to believe these lies about yourself so that you don't progress in society, or so that you don't progress in life. So at the time, I wanted to become a mid-level practitioner, or a high-level practitioner, so either a doctor or a physician assistant. And I remember my sister recommending that I become a massage therapist instead, right? So you see that the expectation is completely different. And by me looking into becoming a massage therapist, this would give her narcissistic supply because she would feel superior than, right? And so this is one of the reasons why I believe a lot of narcissists devalue people or devalue their scapegoats, is because they need someone who they can feel superior than, because they're very, very, very insecure people. And so the covert narcissist is typically going to be one who says, well, this didn't happen to me because I was unlucky, and I missed out on different opportunities because of this. So for example, my narcissistic adopted sister would say, oh, well, I missed out on an opportunity of becoming a medical professional because I had to take care of my parents. Now, that wasn't the truth. Her parents paid for her schooling and supported her along the way. And because she was also brought up in a narcissistic household, when she performed poorly on her boards, she wasn't able to retake her boards because the injury was too bad. So the narcissist, once again, they have to be number one at everything. And when they perform poorly on something, especially coming out of a narcissistic household and they serve the golden child role, they don't know how to deal with it because they've always been propped up. And it doesn't matter if you're the golden child or the scapegoat, abuse is going to be abuse. And typically, for all members in a narcissistic household, you're going to suffer the consequences. So you're still going to be a victim of abuse, whether it was direct or indirect. So that's going to be pretty much it when it comes to dealing with the covert narcissistic sister. Now, just remember they're always in competition with you. Their abuse is going to be highly covert. They're extremely manipulative. They're going to use their mishaps to exploit their victims. They thrive off of making people feel sorry for them. And if they see you as a threat, just know that they're going to do everything in their power to try to knock you down. And, there's nothing that you can do right in their eyes, as well as if you do have things that are going for you, they're going to gossip about you. They're going to make sure that they find ways to sabotage you. And typically, a lot of their abuse that they do towards you is going to be indirect. So they're going to use other people to try to take you down, right? So going back to my situation, I had a adopted sister who was threatened by the things that I was doing in my life. So what she did was she spread a tremendous amount of lies, and typically she would do things to sabotage me, and then she would say that I did that to her. And members of the family wouldn't speak to me because I looked like a shady person. So just going back on the example that I mentioned in a former video, she scammed me on a life insurance policy. And there was also all of the kids were left a small amount of money. And so basically my adopted sister, she manipulated me, and I didn't even know this money was coming my way, but she manipulated me onto giving the money to her so that she could pay for her father's medical bills. And this was something that I did because I am an empathic person, and she lost her father, and I felt bad that she lost her father. However, to let her tell it, she basically lied to the family and told them that I held on to the money because I was self-centered, and that I screwed her on a life insurance policy. So the narcissist, especially the covert narcissist, they're going to do things such as projecting their behavior onto you. And that's going to be it for this video. If you like the video, go ahead and hit the like button. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, or you can email me. Just remember, if you can, to share the video so we can go ahead and grow this channel and get this information out there to help other victims of narcissistic abuse. And that's going to be pretty much it. So you all have a great night and take care. Bye.